wife. She's getting millions of views on this. Sarah, she's even came after me. She's even said all of those things. And now that the public knows exactly what is going on, I asked, because these racist bigots try to prevent us from standing up for our baby, our boy, he should be afforded the same rights that Kyle Rittenhouse had, Daniel Penna, and all of the people who have claimed whatever their defense was. He should be afforded the same right. Nobody in the public media has one video camera, but we got the video of Kyle Rittenhouse with an AK-47 shooting 3 people in the back.
Lawsuit?
We got that. And he raised more than $2 million publicly, and nobody said anything.
I'm so struggling to save my rant for when this video's over. This is a perfect example of what happens when you sprinkle in things upon which both sides could agree with the most rampant, shameless lies on earth that make it impossible to want to support any semblance of due process, which I'll still nonetheless support. Let me play it out. Just take notes, everybody. Nobody said anything when Kyle Rittenhouse raised $2 million. When he had an AK-47 and shot 3 people in the back, let this play out.
So since they tried to come for us, I call for the community's overwhelming support for this fund. The disinformation that was put out was literally deliberate to prevent you from helping this family.
There was legit disinformation put out where even I was getting messages like, hey, did you see this? And I'm like, hey, that's not true. Husa. Serenity prayer. Let's just keep going.
And I want you to give overwhelming support to show them the community united can never
3 times
be divided. And
I'm stopping it here. I can't listen to this anymore. There are so many flipping things about this. Is the lawyer for Karmelo. Please, someone in the chat, correct me if I'm mistaken. I'm fairly certain I'm not. This is the lawyer. What irritates me about this is not that it's ridiculously, phonily theatrics. It is, but the practice of law is itself performative. What drives me nuts is how cliched this trope of a performance is. Has everybody seen Van Wilder? It's a classic movie. If you haven't seen Van Wilder with what's his face, that man who's too good looking for life, Ryan Reynolds, go watch Van Wilder. It's a really gross, raunchy comedy.
It's ridiculous. It's preposterous. It's ludicrous. By God, it's impetuous.
So does that mean you're going to help us?
Oh, it's on.
Oh, it's on.
It's this performative, like, oh, this is what being a lawyer under these circumstances means. It means getting up, being phony, being unwatchable, and spewing the most detestable lies imaginable. When Kyle Rittenhouse raised $2 million and nobody said anything, it was the biggest controversy at the time. He was being physically deprived of his ability to raise funds for his defense, to raise funds for his bond. People were threatening because he was raising money. And they were saying, how can you allow this murderer, alleged murderer, because he was found, I want to say even not guilty, self-defense, everybody knew it, anyone who was paying attention. They wouldn't let, in Cryptus, GoFundMe took down his fundraiser at the time. I'm not going crazy. They prevented Kyle
100%, multiple of them.
You know, I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. Somebody's coming out and telling me that nobody said anything when Kyle Rittenhouse was trying to raise funds. I was there. Barnes was involved. They were screaming bloody murder. No pun intended. Oh no! And then when he had an AK-47 and shot 3 people in the back, sue that bastard. My goodness, he shot 3 people in the back.
That's an activist, by the way. That's not his lawyer.
Okay, good. Thank you. Well, that explains the activism. That explains where this is all going. Oh, thank goodness. I thought it was his lawyer for a bit. I was trying to find this out in a frenzy before going live today. I see these videos and this, oh, no. Before he shot 3 people in the back, not a lawyer, no litigation privilege, sue him. Yeah, Kyle Rittenhouse had an AK-47 Russian-made whatever, not AK stands for Kalashnikov, Andrei Kalashnikov, and he shot 3 people in the back and then he got off because it was self-defense. 3 people. Why don't you mention who those people were, what those people did? Not that it matters, not that because they're sexual abusers or pedophiles that you get to do what, people say things on the internet, but because they were violent criminals who were there to murder Kyle Rittenhouse. And but for the fact that he had a gun, he would have died. Are we saying that that's the similar fact pattern that's analogous to what happened with Austin Metcalf and Karmelo Anthony? Well, I'm not going to say that I think that's a pathological lie. I'll wait for the evidence to come out. Maybe there's evidence that suggests that insane theory of a narrative that has yet to have one lick of evidence in support of it. Maybe. Due process. I know what I think right now. I've shared it. I'm open to new facts that will be adduced during trial. But thus far, it looks like what it looks like. And thus far, by the way, you get an activist coming out there and saying everybody should full-throatedly support his defense funds. You can go to support his defense funds on the basis that everyone is entitled to due process. No one should be denied the ability to raise funds, crowdsource for a full constitutionally valid defense. You want to go on there and see some of the comments saying, when I was a young boy, I would have had to get off the bus. Today, it's much different. God bless you, Carl. This is actually, I'm paraphrasing one of the comments. Like, as if to suggest this is a Rosa Parks moment. As if to suggest that what he's doing is actually raising funds for a defense and not for something else. First of all, call me a cheap bastard all you want. How are cars so freaking expensive? In fact, I've seen Escalades. I see Escalades all the time. I had no idea they were so wildly expensive. It's insane. I felt like I'm studying in Cryptus before we went live. When we bought that Bronco, I was like, the cars are expensive. And the Bronco, I was like, this is the nicest thing this is the nicest vehicle I've ever got. That was a step up from our Subaru, not Impreza. We had the Impreza, then we had the Outback. Karmelo and the family, who are now living in a $900,000 home. There's discussion as to whether or not they're going to buy it. There's some disagreement as to whether or not they have bought it. Apparently, they've got a new $150,000 vehicle, a Cadillac Escalade. This is from an article from Hyperfresh. Karmelo Anthony, 17-year-old black high school student from Frisco, Texas, finds himself in the midst of a storm of controversy as he faces a first-degree murder charge for stabbing a white high school football star, Austin Metcalf, during a track meet on April 2nd. Following his arrest, Anthony's bail was initially set at $1 million. They got it reduced to $250,000. I know it's repulsive, and I know people say lock him up until his trial comes, but flight risk, recidivism risk, violent offender risk, post some massive bail, have him on lockdown. You do have to say, in as much as I don't think it's remotely analogous to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, it took a trial to flesh that out. So the idea of saying lock Karmelo Anthony up until he's convicted versus lock Kyle Rittenhouse up until he's convicted, bail has certain intentions, certain specificity, reasons, raison d'etre. Whether or not 250,000 is too little, $1 million is too much, bail, house arrest, and so on. But set that aside. He's got house arrest now. But hold on, look at this. Hold on. Let's see what the fact check says as we do this in real time, because there's a community note on it. Hold on. Anthony's raised. Okay. The Escalade was purchased in 2023. The family, Karmelo Anthony, relocated to a gated community due to threats. They have not accessed funds raised through the fundraiser. TMZ.
That's not entirely correct. That one of the neighbors actually came out and reported that the Escalade had a temp tag on that expires June 4th. And those in the state of Texas are issued for 30 days.
Okay, very interesting. And we'll accept that as disputed, but then the question is going to be, if they're buying a $150,000 Escalade before this, do they need to raise, well, I mean, I guess the question is going to be, they're raising funds and they're not necessarily even spending them on a defense. We'll put an asterisk in that. Some might say it makes no difference if they've got 150 G's for a car before the incident. That's very, the Escalade, this is very interesting, actually. Now you're making me very, very neurotic. The Escalade was purchased in 2023, doesn't mean they purchased it in 2023. So it might be a 2023
No.
Escalade. Okay, we'll agree, we'll say disputed on that. And some will say it makes zero difference. 150 G's for a car beforehand and then crowdfunding so they can upgrade their house due to threats. And then the rest of it goes on. Let's hear. Soon after his arrest, his family launched a fundraiser on the Christian crowdfunding site Give Send Go. The ultimate irony in all of this is that it's the left, the radical leftists who wanted to deplatform the Kyle Rittenhouses and not allow him to raise funds, that are now using the alternative parallel economy, parallel crowdfunding that was set up as a result of their intolerance. But set that aside. The campaign raised an estimated $440,000 to help cover legal costs. Except they ain't using it for the legal costs. Security measures, yeah, what does that mean? And general living expenses during what they describe as a deeply traumatic time. The reality is I have no doubt it's deeply traumatic. I have no doubt it's going to increase certain costs. And I have no doubt that he's getting a slew of threats. I am not inclined to immediately see a racial element in this just because one person is white and one person is black. The accused is black and the victim is white. I don't necessarily jump to that in the absence of any other indications which may or may not come out. And I would suggest in general that people don't jump to those conclusions, as we're seeing today with the Florida shooting. People want to come to those conclusions for whatever the reason. They want to find those elements. They're looking for golf balls in the forest. Anything that's white is going to look like a golf ball to them. But the bottom line, that activist is turning this into white versus black. There was one other element in this. White versus black, and some of you are going to have to sit down and shut up. Free speech for thee, but not for me. Where was the one where the same guy was talking about the father of Austin being present at this press conference?
And all I'm going to say, so it don't be asked later, is that was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family, but he did it. And so I say to people, actions speak.
They're talking about the father of the deceased victim.
Louder than words.
Can you imagine the audacity?
What he has failed into is the political operatives that want to make this thing a political thing of hate, yet bigotry, and yet racism. We have conservative operatives that have been posting nonstop about this case.
That's kind of what happens. He's accusing them of making it political, conservative operatives, while this guy's playing the race card left, right, and center, making it political, making it racial. I appreciate it has been racialized. It has been depicted that way. We'll see if those elements are relevant in all of this, motivation, history, etc. But bottom line, people, that is what's going on with the Karmelo Anthony. I feel bad. You feel bad referring to an alleged murder, an alleged first-degree murder, as a tragedy. It's not a tragedy. It's an atrocity. But that's what's going on with it. As a family mourns and a family dares to attend a press conference where they turn this thing into a race-baiting circus. They shame the father of the dead teenager on national television. Oh, good afternoon, everybody. How goes the battle? I saw some chats in here that I want to bring up very quickly. Something like 25 to 30% of the cost of a new car is all government regulations. Guido 240, thank you for the piece of information that is useful to know, but not necessarily relevant for the discussion. Please correct me if I'm wrong, Viva, but as I understand it, self-defense claims requires proportionality and are forfeited by escalation. Yes, and forfeited by provocation, proportionate, depending on the jurisdiction. Some states have different thresholds, different criteria. And Barnes and I talked about it last Sunday. And then it's also a question of interpreting the facts, right? We went through the police report. If it wasn't yesterday, it was the day before. And where people see or interpret the touch me and see what happens as provocation, others actually see that as self-defense. Touch me and see what happens. It's a wild, wild world where, like, depending on what your preconceived notions are, hit me and see what happens. Hit me and see what happens. I mean, one screen, two films. So yes, in general, it has to be proportionate. It's not because someone's like, I mean, this is my thus far assessment. Touch me, see what happens. Boop, stab in the chest. That's not how self-defense works. It's not how it works. It's not how it worked in the Zimmerman case, where there might have been, and not might have been, was necessarily more evidence of a physical altercation. But that's where the evidence is going to come out. Who knows? Thus far, it looks like boop, stab, death, first-degree murder, as far as I'm concerned. But we'll see what happens at the trial. Viva, can you ask Vinny what awards, medals, honors he got while he was in the Air Force? Bender is great. Oh, certainly. I've been meaning to do a sit-down interview with Vinny for the longest of times. King of Biltong in the house says, just a thought. Can Encryptus cross-check school shooters versus presidents? How many school college shootings overlapped with red versus blue presidents? I'm sure it's nothing, but just thinking. I mean, we can do that, but well, we're going to get into the Florida, another shooting, another story that you don't want to cover, but it comes with the caveat. There's nothing wrong with waiting a little bit, letting the information trickle in, assessing various angles before coming to any wild conclusions or before coming to any conclusions whatsoever. It is better to be right and accurate than first and not. Before we get there, however, people, speaking of presidents and speaking of Rumble Premium. People, Rumble Premium, Rumble, as we all know, has been under attack. Boycotts, allegedly illegal coalitions to deny, deprive Rumble of ad revenue, to smear them, defame them, so that advertisers pull their dollars, and some of them do, such as Dunkin' Donuts, the so-called all-American coffee brand. Rumble believes in free speech and empowering voices no matter how unpopular, and right now they're taking this fight to the next level. To strengthen their mission, we are offering Rumble Premium, completely ad-free experience with exclusive benefits for viewers and creators. You'll find exclusive content from creators like Russell Brand, Timcast, Mug Club with Crowder, fairly certain the Quartering, who gave us the handoff today. Shout out to the Quartering. Thank you very much. It's more than a subscription. It's a stand against free speech. Your voice matters. Join Rumble Premium for a little limited time. You'll get $10 off the annual plan using promo code VIVA10. It's $10 a month, so it's about 10% off. Go to rumble.com/premium/VIVA10. Claim your discount today. If you can't, don't worry. Just keep watching on Rumble, snipping, clipping, sharing away, spreading the word. Rumble, locals, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. But get Rumble Premium, download the app, you get immediate notifications, and you help fight free speech and stand for a company that respects you, your rights, and the Constitution. How much better does it get than that? All right. Now, the story of the day, which we're going to tread carefully on because it's breaking news. At last check, the information was very much conflicted. Some outlets were reporting 5 dead, 4 injured. Others were reporting 6 injured, no casualties, but no dead, but that was expected to change. There's been a shooting at Florida State University. I'm not showing any of the graphic videos. It's very upsetting, and I'm also not jumping to any conclusions in terms of there's a viral video of the incident going around. We'll talk about it in a second, but let me bring up which one was it? Do I have any? Was I going to bring up any video of this Encryptus? I had.
Yeah. So I dropped you a few in X. The ones that is 4 in the same post, those are safe to show.
Okay.
Don't show the other ones I dropped.
Okay. Well, I'll bring this up. This was the article just to at least where it was. And now I'm taking from Daily Trend. I've never heard of this, but it looks like it's very much on the ground. At least 6 injured in shooting at Florida State University. Suspect in custody. Sources. There's a discussion as to whether or not there was 1, 2, or 3 potential shooters. I'll play a video in a second of the witness. Encryptus, line up the one with the witness. That was the one I actually wanted to play. Police are responding to the scene, which is near the student union. At least 6 people were injured in a shooting at Florida State University, Tallahassee, according to the Tallahassee Memorial Healthcare. 1 person is in critical condition, 5 are in serious condition, according to the hospital. The number of injured is expected to change, so on and so forth. What I wanted to highlight was the interview with
dropped in private chat for you.
Yeah, thank you. With one of the witnesses, because it's the fog of war. It's important to appreciate that news is breaking. Eyewitness testimony, as Robert Barnes and I have always said, is perhaps among the most unreliable. And when you're dealing with someone who says, now, we're going to play this. He seems to have good memory. He was there. Watch this. Listen to this.
Yeah, well, I mean, we were over in the loading bay right here next to it and started seeing everybody run. The maintenance guys were telling everybody to get out of the building. So everybody started coming out the back. And I mean, if they would have probably moved 20 feet further, they would have been on this side of the building, which is where he walked out. He came out.
The shooter?
Yeah, he came out this door right here, and then he saw the maintenance guy who was waving everybody, and I guess heard him probably, and turned and shot that way towards like our direction, towards him.
There is a video. It's very grainy from a distance where there's someone lying on the ground who appears to have been shot somewhere in the upper thigh, buttocks, leg. We're going to get to the other description of a video of that person. That was, from all accounts, as we know right now, one of the people that was shot in this open field area in the student union, wherever this is in FSU. There's a video of an individual who then opens fire on 3 other students not far from him. And we'll say thus far a miracle that he didn't shoot them or that he didn't hit them. I don't know if he did and grazed or whatever. Opens fire on the 3. Seems to be a white kid, for whatever that matters, wearing an orange shirt. If he was wearing like a team shirt in order to blend in and do more damage. And so there was that video, and you can go watch it. It's all out there. It seems to be a miracle that at that range, he didn't seemingly fatally strike any of the 3 people that he opened fire on. This is what he's describing right now.
The golf cart over here with a bullet hole in it.
Yeah, we got a picture of
that blocked it. So that was meant for him. And then after that, he turned this way and started shooting out on the green. He didn't shoot many shots when he came outside. It was only like 4 or 5 shots, but he shot like 2 at our direction, and then he shot like 2 this direction. And that's the girl that got shot in the butt over here that was laying down for a while. They stretchered her off. She looked like she was alive, but I'm not sure. I hope that she is. But then he went back inside. I should have probably hid. I pulled out my phone and started videoing everything and came back out. I heard that there was a shotgun that never fired that they saw, so they had me looking in the bushes for a shotgun for a while.
I'm curious as to who the they was there actually. It wouldn't be police wouldn't be asking a witness to look for a shotgun, but
they had you who,
the cops showed up very fast, like almost instantly.
It says it was the cops.
Tons and tons of cops showed up instantly. I mean, there were probably 20 cops within 5 minutes, just right there. But then, as well as the 100 that were out here.
Yeah. But did you see multiple shooters?
I didn't see multiple. There was only the one that was in here. But what I've heard is that they had one at each entrance. Mm-hmm. So I think that like this was the guy on this side, and then there was probably one on that side and one on that side.
So nobody was going to get out, essentially.
Yeah, they had it planned. I mean, it seems like a coordinated thing. It was definitely coordinated.
So, and thus far, by the way, there seems to be only one shooter, unless the news has developed, which we'll be checking in a second. Just want to let this gentleman finish.
And what were you doing here? Were you getting ready to go to the union? What was like? Were you?
No, I had just left. I was going to my car.
So you were just leaving?
Parked on the service road right there.
How does that make you feel now? You kind of missed the brunt of it.
Well, I mean, good. I'm glad I'm alive. Yeah. I'm glad everybody else standing here wasn't right there, but. And I'm glad that my maintenance guy who was helping by everybody out got missed. But, I mean, it's crazy. People are sick, There are sick people in the world.
Now, some people will watch this, and they'll say, how on earth can any human be so calm in the wake of what they just went through? And my response is, God forbid anybody has to go through this. Nobody knows how they respond in such a moment of, the highest of intensity, the highest of stresses. There's a video going around of a woman, or I don't even know if it's a man or a woman. Some people are saying it's a woman, some people are saying it's a man. It doesn't matter. An individual who's recording their phone as they're drinking, and I'm not joking, a Starbucks iced coffee. And they're recording a woman who's on the ground, happens to be a white woman. None of this is relevant until proof to the contrary. But people are racializing this in the comments, but that's what the internet does. It's just a cesspool of people trying to be provocative in the reply section. It's a woman walking past and recording a woman who's lying on the ground, and you could see visible blood on her pants, and just walks by. And the internet is going nuts on this person. It's either a black woman or a black man. recording a white victim on the ground. Some people were suggesting it was one of the shooters. Other people were suggesting what a heartless, terrible person this is to not administer first aid. And not because I'm a sissy Canadian, people. Who the hell knows what on earth is going on? Whether that person was told by the authorities, get out of here and go to a specific location, and is doing it, recording at the same time, question the judgment, but people feel the need, compelled to record moments of high stress. So again, hold off. And again, don't racialize everything just for the sake of it. That's my wish list. Also, the wish list is that this stuff doesn't happen anymore. Whether or not there's multiple shooters, at the very least, as of now, I believe the reports are that there is 6 injured, and thus far, 1 person in custody, still investigating an active crime scene, but 1 person in custody, and there doesn't seem to be multiple shooters. So that's what's going on. Did I just kick myself out of here? No. Let me just make sure here. At least 6 people were injured in connection with an active shooter situation. Senior federal law enforcement, Florida law enforcement, at least 1 person was in custody, but could not confirm if the individual was the shooter. So thus far, it's unclear if there was more than 1 shooter. Active shooter. It didn't feel okay, and that's it. So that's what's going on in Florida. It's terrible news, and fog of war. Wait a little bit, but at the very least, you got a witness who lived through this. You've got a bunch of cell phone footage from inside the rooms where you hear people banging on the doors and you're not sure exactly what's going on, who's asking to get in, whether or not there was 1 or more shooters. And thus far, it seems 6 injured, 1 in critical. And may this be as minimal a tragedy as humanly possible. And we'll wait for more details. Oh, let me go see what's going on in the chat here. Roostang in our locals community says, Mike Benz continues to expose USAID's corruption for your tax dollars on malicious lawfare. 27 million taxpayer dollars were sent to a group that sponsors, quote, Fair and Just Prosecutions, which is the group that manages the George Soros prosecutors and tells them who to prosecute and who not to prosecute. 30% of Americans live under these George Soros prosecutors now, quote, gives them talking points, gives them social media posts. Your money is funding the weaponization of our justice system. I don't think that's going to come as a shock to anybody because we knew that Soros and his funded DAs that he funds and finances to get elected directly or indirectly, whether or not he goes through PACs like the Color of Change that gets Alvin Bragg elected. Who was the other one? Kim Fox, Kim Gardner. I'm noticing a trend with George Soros in terms of who he finances, in terms of getting elected and how they perform when they're in there. But yes, we know it. It's wild. I'd like to have Mike Benz on again, and maybe I'll reach out to him and see if he can get back on. All right, that's what's going on there. What do we move on to right now, people? The other big news, speaking of USAID financing, the destruction of the people whose money is being used to finance their own destruction. We know that the media has been taking USAID funds. And when you see the way the media has been reporting on one flipping hoax after another, do we take a 30-second pause? And I'm going to go to the chat and make sure I get all of these. If we start with hoaxes from Trump, 2015, sending over the rapists and their criminals. He would call Mexicans rapists and criminals. He called veterans suckers and losers. He referred to shithole countries. He removed the bust of Martin Luther King, allegedly. Didn't. The whole thing about him feeding the goldfish, the koi fish in Japan with Abe. Bullshit. The Russiagate hoax. The bleach injection. The fine people hoax. Everything. They are funded directly or indirectly, and we covered it. USAID revealed it. And by the way, it's not USAID, it's U.S. Infrastructure Development, U.S. American International Development. That's what it says. U.S. Agency of International Development. Actually, it has nothing to do with aid. It's narrative control. Well, the latest fake news hoax that I don't say the media fell hook, line, and sinker for. It's the people who fall hook, line, and sinker for it. It's the media who perpetrates the fraud, is the Kilmar Abrego Garcia, father of 3, Maryland father of 3, who's totally not an MSNBC 13 gang member. Totally not, even though 2 prior bond hearings confirmed that he was and on appeal. unlawfully, through administrative error, deported, and it's the greatest injustice on earth. And now Trump is in violation of a court order for refusing to bring back this man who is now in El Salvador because he's El Salvadorian, in El Salvadorian custody, and Trump refuses to facilitate the reimportation of someone who is designated a member of a terrorist gang back into the country. They lie to you. They lie and they lie. And the latest lie of the day is that, but also you got your willing perpetrators in the promulgation of the lies. And today, who is it? It's that guy, what's his name, who now went down to El Salvador to try to get him released, to try to get a meeting with the El Salvadorian president. Yes, Chris Van Hollen. This guy, I'm not going to play the other video. He put together a whole beautiful video. He's traveling on taxpayer dollars. They're just, to bridge the fraud of the taxpayer dollars. He's probably traveling on taxpayer dollars. Maybe he's not, but probably is. He made a whole video that he's going down to El Salvador to meet with the El Salvadorian president to facilitate the release and, I would say removal, but rather the smuggling back into America of a designated terrorist member. And some people are questioning the legality of this. But before we even get into that, a man ostensibly going to a foreign country, purportedly, or maybe not purportedly, maybe he's specifying that he's there as a private citizen. I doubt it. Maybe he's specifying that he's there as a government official, but without the authority to negotiate for and on behalf of the country, so as to avoid any potential Logan Act violations. Who knows? But this is what he said earlier today.
I also told his wife and family that I would try to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia while I was here. So I asked the vice president if I could meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia. And he said, well, you need to make earlier provisions to go visit CCOT. I said, I'm not interested at this moment in taking a tour of CCOT. I just want to meet with Mr. Abrego Garcia.
What's your authority?
He said he was not able to make that happen. He said he needed a little more time. I asked him if I came back next week, whether I'd be able to see Mr. Abrego Garcia. He said he couldn't promise that either. So I asked him if I could get on the phone, either video phone or just a phone, and talk to Mr. Abrego Garcia. So I could just ask him how he's doing, so I could report back to his family. He said he could not arrange that. He said maybe if the American embassy were to ask, maybe that could happen. So I will certainly ask the American embassy to ask the government of El Salvador to connect us by phone. I asked him how about his family? How can he talk to his wife so that she can hear his voice? I let him know that the family has requested that.
This editing is really giving me it's making me want to have a mild seizure. And then I say that in full awareness of how I edit my videos. But can you believe how thoughtful this man is? He's so empathetic. He's almost suicidally empathetic. But he's not suicidally empathetic, to use Gad Saad's term. He is homicidally empathetic because he knows damn well he will not be the victim of Kilmar Garcia or another similar individual who may be unlawfully in the country and they fight to prevent their deportation. He won't be the one. He's got security. Although, seeing what happened to Josh Shapiro the other day, I wonder how good their security is. No, but it's not necessarily suicidal empathy. I would argue that it's homicidal empathy. Oh, what state is he from? I'm going to get that in a second. But can you imagine how many Americans, veterans, heroes there are in America that are deserving of this attention, but he saves it for illegal aliens, designated members of terrorist gangs, and he is flying down to El Salvador, probably on taxpayer dollars, instead of staying in his own country and serving his own constituents? This is traitorous. Whether or not it's Logan Act violation, we'll find out in a second.
He said he was not sure whether he could make that happen. So we have an unjust situation here. The Trump administration is lying about Abrego Garcia.
No, they're not. No, they're not. You are. You scumbag. Where is he from? Senator Chris Hollen. Senator, from what state? How hard is it to find out? Senator Chris Baltimore. Oh, well, that makes total sense now. No, they're not. They're not lying about Garcia. You are. We'll get to that in 1 second. But let's just see. Did he violate the Logan Act? Does everybody remember the Logan Act? None of us ever heard of the Logan Act until they decided to weaponize the Logan Act against the likes of Donald John Trump. The Logan Act. I know. Oh yeah, right here. This is just the AI summary. The Logan Act is a law that would prosecute. It's a 1799 law. It's an 18th. Wait, hold on. Which way did the centuries go? 18th century. Yeah, it's an 18th century law. It's a 200-year-old law that is intended to punish or criminalize private citizens purporting to represent the government. That's what the law. It was named after Harold J. Logan, named after a guy named Logan. The Logan Act is the United States federal law that prohibits private citizens from negotiating with foreign governments on behalf of the U.S. government without explicit authority from the U.S. government. It was enacted in 1799 to prevent unauthorized individuals from undermining the government's position in foreign affairs. The act is named after George Logan. I thought it was named after Logan Paul. Damn it. A Pennsylvania legislator who traveled to France in 1798 to negotiate debts, an act which led to the passage of the law. So that's what the Logan Act is. Words to pay attention to. Private citizen negotiating with foreign governments without explicit authorization. So the question is going to be, is this guy, I forget what his name is now, it doesn't matter. Is he a private citizen? No, not necessarily unless he's down there in that capacity. He's a government official. Is he negotiating, period? Is he negotiating, or is he just, trying to bone up on his virtue signaling points? And is it without authorization? If he's an elected senator, does he have the authorization to have discussions with foreign leaders? And then if we go to an article where they're asking if Chris Van Hollen, I love it when they start with the question. Get this ugly face out of here. Hold on 1 second. Did he, how do I, whatever. I don't know if I'm doing like this here. Up to the top, your support. No, thank you. Did Democratic senator who tried to help man wrongly deported? Way to load your headline with more editorial content. This is not journalism. This is editorialism. Did he violate the Logan Act? Maryland Democrat accused of violating 18th century legislation by visiting Central American nation. Okay, fine. Democrat flew to El Salvador to lobby for the release of the wrongly deported Kilmar Abrego Garcia. But Maryland's Chris Van Hollen infuriated Republicans with the trip, accusing him of violating a 200-year-old law aimed at preventing people from undermining the government. It's unbelievable. Like when they wanted to use these laws against Trump, when they wanted to use the other one there, FARA laws, like these are laws that are old, that have never been used, that have never really been tested in terms of their constitutionality. When they wanted to do it, Logan Act, go Google Logan Act violation Trump. Now, they're 200-year-old laws. How is he bringing up this one? The Alien Enemies Act. These are all 200-year-old laws. They must have lapsed. They have a shelf life of 150 years. After that, they're expired, right? We know the facts. Although I'll just read this one. Garcia, who lives with his wife and children, I'd say lived with his wife and children in Van Hollen State, was sent to the Central American country by Trump's administration. The U.S. government has since refused to comply with the federal court, demanding the 29-year-old's repatriation. Illegal repatriation. How does that work? Van Hollen said that he had been denied access to Garcia, yada, yada, yada. White House Communications Director Stephen Chung attacked the senator for his attempted intervention, while the president's border czar, Tom Homan, called the trip disgusting. The Department of Homeland Security insisted in a statement of its own, without providing evidence, that Garcia was an MS-13 gang member. Without providing evidence? You sons of bitches, I provided the evidence. It's from the 2019 bond hearing, where it said, based on the evidence, he is an MS-13 gang member. It was affirmed by an appeal review of that bond hearing without evidence. This is a lie. This isn't even without providing evidence. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you want me to send it to you, The Guardian? So here, pursuing your own individual foreign policy is a violation of the Logan Act, he wrote. We're talking about Roger Stone on X. The FBI should arrest this senator the instant he returns to the country. The act invoked by Stone was passed by the 5th Congress in 1798. Should I drink olive oil? In it states, any citizen of the United States, wherever he may be, who without authority of the United States directly or indirectly commences or carries on any correspondence or intercourse with any foreign government or any officer or agent thereof, with intent to influence the measures or conduct of any foreign government or of any officer or agent thereof in relation to any disputes or controversies with the United States, or to defeat the measures of the United States, shall be fined under this title or imprisoned not more than 3 years or both. Well, based on that description, it sounds very close to what he did. This section shall not abridge the right of a citizen to apply himself or his agent to any foreign government for agents for redress, yada, yada, yada. So it sounds like he might be getting close to having done that. Considering that I think like 2 people in the history of America have been charged under the Logan Act, neither of which got convicted. And I think that the last one was 1850. Don't quote me on that one. It might have been a little more recent, but it was a long time ago. I don't know how they would interpret this thing. It's right here. The Logan Act has rarely been enforced over the past 2 centuries. A 2018 Congressional Research Service reported only 2 individuals had ever been prosecuted. Kentucky farmer in 1803, who called for the Western United States to ally with France, and a man in 1853 who wrote a letter to the president of Mexico. Neither case ended in a conviction. So we'll see. I would not hold one's breath for a conviction, but my goodness, sounds fair game. Hey, for what they put Trump through over the last decade, it sounds like fair game, specifically and in particular because it very much sounds, by his own admission, that that's exactly what he went to El Salvador to do. Maybe I'm just it's advocacy. I just wanted to meet with the president. I'm just demanding a foreign government provide me access to a criminal that they have detained in their country. Why do I think that I would have that authority? Because I'm a member of government. Are you undermining the policy of the government that you purportedly represent? We'll see. But when they say that, he's a father of 3, lives with his wife and kids in Maryland. Oh, did you hear the other news of the day? Not only is he an MS-13 gang member, as confirmed by the bond hearing, that wasn't a trial on the merits, Viva. They didn't have a full 7-day trial to determine his gang affiliation. They just had a bond hearing, which was a adversarial legal proceeding, after which the bond hearing judge declared the evidence shows he is an MS-13 gang member. It went for appellate review, not to the Court of Appeals, but whatever the bond appeal review is, who confirmed the same thing. What's the news of the day? That in addition to all of that, he is alleged to have abused his wife. This is from Bill Malugan, although it's been reported elsewhere. National correspondent for Fox News. I didn't know that. Well, now I'm angry. I'm joking, people. I'm not that petty. Fox News has obtained the written domestic violence allegations from Kilmar Abrego. By the way, it's written in his wife's handwriting. Not only designated, confirmed by 2 prior courts, at least. I think there's more. MS-13 gang member, now domestic violence, in a statement written by his wife. Violence allegations from Kilmar Abrego Garcia's wife in 2021, in which she alleges he is a repeat wife beater and writes, quote, "At this point, I'm afraid to be close to him. I have multiple photos, videos of how violent he can be and all the bruises he has left me." I think that's either a typo there or in their thing. In her own handwriting, she alleges that Abrego Garcia punched her and scratched her on the eye, leaving her bleeding after throwing her laptop on the floor. It's an expensive decision. She writes that on another day, he got angry again, started yelling, and ripped her shirt and shorts off, then grabbed her arm, leaving marks. She also writes that in 2 times in 2020, he hit her. In November 2020, he hit me with his workout boot. In August 2020, he hit me in the eye, leaving a purple eye. And then we can see it right here. I'm going to open. I'm not going to read it all, although maybe I'm going to. Kilmar Abrego Garcia, petition for protection, peace and order, continuation sheet. I told him to give me his card to pay. He got angry, started insulting me. I only put a few of gas. Once leaving there, he pulled out like crazy. I started recording because I was scared of the way he was driving and because our 1-year-old was in the back seat. In the recording, you can hear him yelling, insulting me, driving extreme fast. I was watching on my laptop. He yelled me to turn it off. I told him I wasn't sleepy. He got angry, reached over, shut and threw my laptop on the floor, and the baby started to cry because he was putting pressure on him. My immediate reaction was to push him off of us, and then he scratched me on my left eye, leaving me bleeding. That same day at 2:00, he came home, and today he was going out with a friend. I told him that I needed to go to pick up some orders at BJ's. He got angry, started yelling again. And at that point, he ripped off my short off. I ran to the bathroom. He ran behind me, grabbed me by my arm. I have marks on my left arm as well. He then left, came home at 12. I left my car parked in the neighborhood. And the morning I asked him for the key, and he said he wasn't going to give it to me because he has things to do with, and that I should order an Uber to leave with the kids because I order Uber with the kids later, yada, yada, yada. Then what do we got here? November 2020, hit me with his work boot. August 2020, hit me in the eye, leaving a purple eye. Yeah. They lie to you. They mislead you in every single respect. They gaslight you. And then they go to bat for the criminals, the wife beaters, the illegals. Literally. Can you imagine? Whatever that senator from Baltimore's name is, he is going to bat for an illegal gang member wife beater. That is your Democrat Party. Congratulations. May you live forever. That's that. Now, what do we got here in the back? Let me see here. There's Spam Ranger over in our Viva Barnes Law. First of all, I got to show you this. The way to a man's heart is through his stomach, and the way to my heart is through a cute little pig dog. Look at that little face. Do you know it? You just want to grab it, and you want to kiss it right there. Right, that little soft spot where it goes down in his nose, and it's like always wet and cold. Oh, this one looks like he's got a dry little prickly nose. Oh, the way they sit on their fat little tushies. Okay, that's a cute dog. That's not what I was coming here for. I came here and then I got distracted because I saw that in the backdrop. I wanted to bring up the tipped questions in locals because there's one that has the trends. Apparently, the data recap. Let's see what this is. This is from Spam Ranger. Here is data showing that leftism caused the increase in school shootings. And then we got school shootings, traditional morals replaced with moral relativism. Well, there's a lot of other things that happened since 68, but I'm curious as to this anomaly right here in 68. What the heck happened? Like, what are these wild anomalies?
That was the year of the major protests at schools.
School shooting
for Vietnam.
And then 80. What was 85? I mean, this looks like
I'm
a single
assuming.
incident.
And I'll put my conspiracy theorist hat on. I bet that was the year MK Ultra decided to test out their stuff on college kids. Okay.
That's good. And this is it. Well, all that this is showing is the trend is going up, but also what is the definition of school? Well, I guess what is the definition of school shootings? That's pretty clear. Killed and injured. So number of incidents. Yeah, I don't think anybody's. I put my money on SSRIs is where I put it on. SSRIs and I could name a few other things. All right, interesting. Thank you. Now let's go back here and see some of them tipped questions over in Viva Barnes Law. What am I doing here with my fat fingers? We're going to do a little bit of a covering the Canadian debate last night and heading into the English one tonight. Jacob Couch was attacked with a hatchet and requires help. If you can help, please share this. Encryptus. Yeah, it's unbelievable, you know.
Chat asked for it. I figured it was a good time to bring it up.
No, I know, and it's like I don't want to like belabor the point, you know. Karmelo gets $500,000 in this act of insanity. It's like the more politicized it is, the more the politicized disfavored element gets funds. I'll give it to everybody here in not just locals, but everywhere. Link, if you can. I shared it the other day. I gave, and it's a terrible story. Okay, what else do we have? We have Bill Tong is in the house. Did I bring up? Okay, good. Let me bring these up, and then we're going to get to the next story. I forget what the next story is, but we'll get there. TZ Burton says Rachel Morin's mother, Patty, was at the White House yesterday. Her daughter was killed by an illegal in Maryland. Maryland Senator Van Hollen never called the family. Rachel was a mother of 5. It's enraging. It's enraging, and it makes you have uncontrollable negative thoughts, which you have to keep in check. What's the word I'm looking for? It's enraging. You read something like this, you know that it's true, and then you wish ill, and you can't wish ill because that is, if you're a religious person, it's a sin, and if you are just a moral, non-religious person, it's bad juju. You just have to hope there's cosmic justice, and maybe hope in an afterlife or something. King of Biltong says, want to add more protein to your diet? Add some healthy, high-protein biltong packed with B12, creatine, iron, and zinc. A great addition to a healthy diet. Go to BiltongUSA.com, code VIVA for 10% off. Made in America. It's flipping delicious. And I love those biltong, if you can share the word, they're Carnatzel sticks. They're like, they're so flipping good. But anything with cloves in it is flipping delicious. All right, next topic. Do we do this? Does anybody? I have to do it. I have to do it. We have to do the summary of the debate, the Canadian election debate last night. I am a bit despaired for the future of Canada. Now, let me just get a couple things here. First of all, you got to see this. But Encryptus, this is what I was talking about that was on my feed earlier today. What the hell is that? Now, I don't think it's real. And I'm wondering, I can't tell if this is a man or a woman. That butt is the roundest, most firmest, muscular butt. That has to be a man.
Yeah, that is definitely a man.
Like, A, it can't be real. B, all I can think about
is really real.
You think it's real? I think maybe they're stretching the camera or something. All that I say is, like, if that were like a cow, I would say, like, oh, that's got to be the rib steak part of the cow. And that's what was on my feed. I don't know why the hell that's there. I wanted to bring up a tweet from yesterday as relates to my summary of the French debate coming out of Canada, because I have to justify the use of. Sorry. Every now and again, I read my own tweets and they make me laugh. This is the assessment. This is the summary. You can share this with your friends. Yesterday's debate, it was in French. Pierre obviously won the debate tonight, but that is not much of a consolation prize given the opposition. A separatist, that's the Bloc Québécois guy. A globalist, that's Mark Carney. And a racist retard. And that is Jagmeet Singh. And if you think I'm being too harsh on Jagmeet Singh, just wait until I play you this video. There is seriously nobody who could have watched that debate and felt confident in the future of Canada. If that is the best of the leadership that Canada has to offer, it is only a matter of time before some predatory nation takes over that country, assuming China and India haven't already done it. And I got to tell you, I'm fairly certain China has already done it. And now there's some talk about, better gas relations, the natural resource relations now because of the Trump tariffs that Canada's forging with China. But I'm going to play this. Who was it? I had it. Oh, here we go. Again, being a little harsh, but he deserves every lick of it. If you have ever wondered how a so-called practicing Sikh, quote, Indo-Canadian of Punjab descent could be a despicable, racist, and proponent of modern-day slavery, I present to you Jagmeet Singh. According to Jagmeet Singh, Canada needs more immigrants for, you guessed it, people, labor in the fields. This is French, and I'll get to the French part in a second. Here, listen to this.
Would you reduce the number of immigrants to Canada in general?
Instead of answering with a simple yes or no, I would want to base our response on...
Instead of answering with a simple yes or no, I'm going to give you the answer in dance. No.
Answering with a simple yes or no, I would want to base our response on the facts. It is obvious that we need immigration.
It's obvious that we need immigration? Oh, okay. It's interesting. I didn't know we were starting with just an accepted fact.
Speak to Quebec farmers, they tell me, yes, we need immigrants to work on our farms. When I talk to small and medium...
We done picking cotton, to quote, what's her face, Jasmine Crockett. Well, if you, I won't... because Jagmeet does not have an accent, I'm not going to make fun of any accents. We're done picking cotton. And Jagmeet apparently thinks Canadians are done working farm fields. So let's import some cheap, unskilled labor of people that we can exploit and somehow convince ourselves we are not proponents of modern-day slavery.
When I speak to Quebec farmers, they tell me, yes, we need immigrants to work on our farms. When I talk to small and medium businesses, they tell me that we need immigrants. The question is, what level of immigration? We would base our immigration levels on the findings of an expert panel, which would study our capacities. Then we would have a data-based number. But I do not want to fall into the trap of fear-mongering or blaming immigrants for things. We need a facts-based, needs-based
Mr.
approach.
Blanchet.
Yeah, we're going to find out how many immigrants we need in order to exploit them for cheap labor because Canadians don't want those jobs. And by the way, it's a very funny thing. Like everybody says, Viva, you'd make a good prime minister. No, I wouldn't, because I don't play political bullshit. But I talk to farmers too. I talk to everybody wherever I go. And I was at a farm, and I was shocked. This was like sort of part of my awakening. I think it was COVID-ish, or maybe just pre-COVID. I have to go back and see when I started going to certain places. I was at this Quebec farm, and I say it without judgment. Everyone working in the fields was Mexican or South American, and I asked the farmers, like, what's the deal? And he's like, yeah, well, they're seasonal workers. We bring them up. We house them. We board them. We feed them. I didn't ask what they pay them, but they pay them something. But I guarantee you it's less than minimum wage because they factor in accommodations. And then they bust them back to South America or bust them out of the country at the end of the season. It's like, you do all of that for 6 months of labor. And what? Because you can't find any workers here? It's like nobody here, not nobody here wants the job. Nobody here wants to work. It's like, what does that mean? What? You get seasonal workers who can work during part-time and then get government benefits during the seasonal unemployment and who work under the table in any event and don't declare it. Why the hell would they do that? So it's not that there isn't the demand out there. It's not that there isn't the labor out there. It's that the government has offered these goodies in terms of seasonal unemployment so that people actually work under the table for cash, don't declare it, get government benefits. Why on earth would they work a relatively hard job? And then more importantly, if you can ship up labor, if you can exploit unskilled immigrants to do it and exploit them financially, why would you ever increase your prices so that you can get, other people locally to do it? But it's modern day slavery, and they just shamelessly admit it. Now, the funny thing about the debate was how they chose the voices for the respective candidates. You saw Jagmeet Singh got a voice, which you can qualify it however you want. Pierre Poilievre got, not arguably, but definitively, a very effeminate voice. And Mark Carney, and the funniest thing was the French-Canadian guy, the Bloc Québécois guy, the separatist, got a British accent voice, which is also hilarious. And then Mark Carney got the most dignified voice that actually sounded somewhat like his own voice. Afterwards, they actually had some questions. They took questions from alternative media. And you have some jackasses on the internet saying, hey, they shouldn't have taken questions from the Rebel News and their propagandists. This was a good one from Cian Bexty. I love Cian Bexty. I don't care what anybody says, and you can call me whatever names you want. He's good. He does good work, and I like him.
Just to follow up, if I may, your entire campaign does seem to be predicated on putting you in the front and hiding the people that stood in lockstep with Justin Trudeau for the last 10 years.
You think CBC is going to ask him this question?
You're kind of hoping that Canadians won't connect the dots, that the people standing behind you in your caucus walked in lockstep with them. Regardless of what you say right now, Stephen Guilbeault made the carbon tax's life work. The man that moved Paul Bernardo from a maximum security prison is now your chief of staff. I'm wondering how you reconcile this and how you can trust their judgment when they thought those ideas were good ideas.
I'd say a couple things to that rather odd question. First is that...
Stop. Did everybody just hear that? What a son of a bitch. A condescending SOB. What was it?
Things to that rather odd question.
What the hell is odd about that question, Carnage Carney? Connie, Charney Connie, whatever you want to call it. What the hell was odd about that question? It's a damn good question. You got the exact same team that worked under Trudeau. You slap on a new good-looking old white man face and then pretend it's a new party?
First is that the candidates in the selection for the Liberal Party, I mean, you go and see when I make an announcement. I don't think I've seen you at any of them, but next time you can come. And you will see a wide announcement. I don't think I've seen you at any of them, but next time you can come. And you will see a wide range of the candidates that are there presenting themselves. So, for example, with respect...
just pure verbal diarrhea. And it's an amazing thing. The question was a damn good question. And interesting enough, earlier today, Mark Carney, Carnage Carney, Commie Connie, China Carney. This is the... You'll read my response. It's enraging. It's enraging that this is the actual candidate against whom Pierre Poilievre is running, and Pierre still seemingly can't beat him. I mean, there was an episode of SNL back in the day when George Dukakis was running. And they were doing like a mock debate. And at the end of the skit, the guy playing George Dukakis said, and I think it was John Lovitz, he says, I can't believe I'm losing to this guy. I can't believe Pierre Poilievre is losing to this guy. I can't believe that there are Canadians stupid enough to continue voting for this guy. Now they're coming out and touting charter rights. Like you couldn't make this up. Mark Carnage Carney. The Charter of Rights and Freedoms is the embodiment of our principles and our aspirations as Canadians. It must be protected, not wielded for political gain. 43 years on, the Charter remains strong, and it's on all of us to defend it. These are the mother effers who invoked the Emergencies Act, who beat the ever-loving piss out of women and veterans, who stifled freedom of association, who froze bank accounts with no due process, and Pierre Poilievre is struggling to beat this jackass? The ultimate gaslighting. The Liberals didn't invoke the Emergencies Act to violently suppress the most peaceful charter-protected protest ever. That was Trudeau. The Liberals didn't weaponize the police to use them as their jackboots to beat the ever-loving piss out of veterans. That was Trudeau. The Liberals didn't fire people for not submitting to experimental COVID jabs. That was Trudeau. Mark J. Carney thinks you are stupid, and if you still vote for him, you are stupid. Period. Oh, God. He's struggling. He's struggling. And not only that, it seems tonight will be the night. If he doesn't kick Carney's ass in the debate tonight, if and when I liquidate my positions at a massive loss, I will let everybody know. Thus far, I feel like John Lovitz playing Mike Dukakis. I can't believe he's losing to that guy. And I take shit for calling out the absolute egregious missteps. But anyways, no, today was about the Liberals. It's not a boot. What's his face? Yeah. That's the summary of the debate. Tonight is the English debate. I'm going to do it. I might be cutting it a little close to getting there because I'm exercising today. I am going to. Who's at the door? If there's an incident, it will be the last time you play unattended. Go see who's outside. Don't eat the door, please. The kid will play, and if the kid has an altercation with our neighborhood kids. So that tonight's the English debate, and if Pierre does not seize the opportunity to crush Carney, may God have mercy on the future of Canada. Because as it is, it doesn't look good. As it is, even if Pierre manages to eke out a majority or a victory, I'm still not confident. But I said I would not talk about Pierre. Palate cleanse?
Anything not Canada would be a palate cleanse.
All right, well, let's do this. The UK said that a woman is a woman, and now they've defined a woman as an adult female with XX chromosomes. A woman is an adult female with a vagina. I don't know if this is true. Okay, I don't know if this is real. I just know that I saw it. I was waiting for a punchline, like, haha, now I can go use my locker room alone. I watched this video, I read the caption, and I heard Malcolm X in my head. Okay, it says, as of today, the UK Supreme Court just ruled trans women are no longer legally women. No longer. Like, I thought she was going to there was going to be a thumbs up at the end type thing, but she actually just set up the camera so that she could cry. She looks like an XX woman, but who knows these days? Ooh. And it is Belle Priestley. So the UK did rule. I mean, it's like it's the shockingest revelation of all time. Did I bring up an article that the UK has ruled that women are women? And I took it from Al Jazeera, people, because I like to know what other countries are reporting on the news. And Al Jazeera is actually surprisingly good on certain issues and predictably less neutral on other issues. Trans women aren't legally women. What the UK Supreme Court ruling means. From Al Jazeera. Who's the journalist? Jazif? Oh, the Al Jazeera staff. The United Kingdom's Supreme Court has ruled that the terms, quote, woman, end quote, and, quote, sex, end quote, refer to, quote, biological woman and biological sex, end quote, under UK equality laws, bringing a long-running court battle between feminist groups and the government of Scotland to an end. I don't actually, you know what? They're not feminist groups. They're misogynist groups. They're homophobic groups. And I said it before and I'll say it again. The so-called 2S LGBTQIA plus trans movement is a fundamentally misogynist and fundamentally homophobic movement, telling gay kids that they need to cut their dicks off because they're actually women. Telling women that men are actually women, and you better look at that woman's penis, you bigot. Fundamentally misogynist, fundamentally homophobic. Wednesday's ruling is expected to have far-reaching consequences for policies on whether and how spaces and services reserved for women should be extended to include trans women. Those born male who have transitioned socially or medically who identify as women, such as changing rooms, domestic violence shelters, and medical. Can you imagine? We actually have to have a discussion in modern times as to whether or not men can be allowed into domestic violence centers or women's prisons. Although the case originally began in Scotland, the court's interpretation of the law will be effective across the UK, England, and Wales. Reactions, yada, yada. Here's what to know about it. The legal dispute began on March 2018 when the Scottish Parliament passed an act stating that 50% of non-executive members of the boards of Scottish public bodies must be women. Then there's men who come and say, no, I want that position. But you're not a man. Yes, I am. I'm a woman. I want your position. The act, which was known as Holyrood's gender representation on public boards, was supposed to ensure better representation for women in public bodies. A sticking point of the policy, however, was the definition of woman. The act said that the woman definition included transgender women who held gender recognition certificates. Can you imagine? It's the ultimate participation trophy. I've got a gender recognition certificate that says I'm a woman, therefore I'm a woman. It's psychotic. It's mass psychosis. A feminist group for Women Scotland challenged the new law and launched a petition against it in 2018. The group argued that the Scottish Parliament had wrongfully defined woman and that the law had failed to use legal definitions set out in the Equality Act. The Act prohibits discrimination based on age, yada, 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 yada. UK Equality Act 2010 does allow for separate or single-sex services to be provided when this is reasonably necessary, such as for reasons of privacy, decency, preventing trauma. Scottish court dismissed the first case brought by FWS in 2022, concluding that the Scottish legislation did not necessarily redefine women by including transgender women. The judge ruled that the women were not, quote, not limited to biological or birth sex. Amazing. They appealed. March 2024, the advocacy group backed by other feminist organizations and lesbian groups appealed to the Supreme Court. The group was also supported by Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling, who reportedly donated $92,000 to a crowdfunding campaign for FWS. On Wednesday, 5 judges ruled unanimously that the term woman in the existing UK Equality Act should be interpreted as only people born biologically female. I mean, I'm not even going on. Interpreting sex as a certificate sex would cut across the definition of man and woman, and thus the protected characteristics of sex is in an incoherent way, the judge wrote. It would create heterogeneous groupings. You know what else it would create? It would utterly destroy the very raison d'etre of the law in the first place, which was to protect women. Specifically, it protects women. We enact that law when there was not this mental contagion, this social contagion of transgender madness. And now they say, no. The term woman, as it was enacted back then, also means men who think they're women. Because they got a certificate. It says your penis is actually just a flappy vagina. And my certificate says I'm a woman, so let me into your locker room, let me into your spaces, and let me into your sports. And then lo and behold, you have pregnant women in prisons, and you have men in violence shelters for abused women. It's absolute insanity, because it was never about equality. It was about dominance and domination of a fundamentally misogynist and homophobic activist organization that has co-opted what was otherwise just live and let live policy. So yeah, that was the palate cleanse. Forced name change says, Viva, was it expensive and was it difficult to emigrate to the United States? If Carney does win and Alberta refuses to separate, I'm going to have to move. It was expensive. We made mistakes. First of all, we're in process, but I can just tell you, even for a temporary visa, it was expensive. We made a lot of mistakes. Like some of the things you don't even know. Like we drove down, and then we're here with a Quebec car, and then to have that car plated here, you got to pay the provincial. You got to pay the state sales tax and have the car plated, have it recognized for emissions in the state. And that's like, that would be whatever. Well, it was a Subaru Outback. So then what you end up doing is, okay, well, we'll ship the car back and sell it in Canada and then get another one, get a new one down here, ship it back to Canada. That's $1,500. And that was even just to get it to the border. a number of mistakes, which, yeah, one day I'm going to do a very long live stream about the whole thing from beginning to end. But if Carney wins and Alberta doesn't separate, if Carney wins, the whole irony, not to get back to Canada, Carney winning it, Carney at this point is almost more conservative than Pierre. And he's doing it on purpose because liberals are stupid. Liberals are easier to convince. Well, now he seems very reasonable, so let's forget about everything the liberals have done for the last decade. So he's not buying conservative votes. He's just maintaining the liberal votes and maybe getting those super duper dumb liberals, the NDPs, to vote for the liberals. So that's that. Now, by the way, I'm going to be on with Richard Surrett at 5:38. I love it. Radio gives like such specific start times. Richard Surrett, I'm on at 5:38, people. Saga 690 or Saga 960. Richard Surrett, he's awesome. So I'm going to have to make sure I'm going to be done by then, but I'm going to go do the locals after party. What have I missed of anything that I was supposed to talk about today? I think we've done good, people.
The only thing that you have missed is Ron Paul and his take
Ron
on
Paul. I'm going to say that. I'm going to say that for locals, actually, because I might be wrong on my view, and I don't want to. I might be wrong on my view.
You're not wrong on your view, because I agree with you.
Yeah, no, and I'm not wrong. I'm saving something specific and exclusive for our locals community. But let me see what was this one. I have this one in the backdrop.
So Alex Sultan with True North. If you thought my friend's question was odd, you're going to love this one.
Speaking of gender.
I'm glad you self-assessed that. Okay.
How many genders are there?
There, in terms of sex, there are 2. Thank you.
Thank you. I don't want to answer.
Follow-up question then. Do you believe that women, biological women, have the right to their own spaces? Their own sports, their own change rooms.
A damn good question.
Their own prisons, their own homeless shelters.
Yes.
I think this is Canada.
This is Canada. Thank you. We live in a society
that, as a general objective, yes. But we work in where we value all Canadians for who they are, and we'll continue to do so. Thank you very much.
So, Alex,
I hate this guy. And yet somehow, Pierre Poilievre is having difficulty mopping the floor with him. I don't know, Viva, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. Trust me, the polls, it's going to happen. Okay, done. Everybody, come on over to... Before you leave, everybody, make sure you're subscribed. Make sure you have notifications turned on. Let me make sure that you all remember to buy the children's book. I don't know how many copies we've sold. Let me see here. Louis the Lobster returns to the sea. Here is the link, people. Link to book. No one has ever regretted getting a kid's book. It's $15 US. We kept it at $14.99 because of the exchange rate, and I wanted to make it accessible for Canadians. Get a book. Make sure you're subscribed. And without further ado...
What do you think about raiding Dr. Drew where Mark Robert is today?
Oh, 1,000%. Go raid Dr. Drew and let him know that Viva sent you. I love Dr. Drew, and I love Mark Robert. Lord Buckley on Twitter. Do it. I'm just going to read some chats while we're doing this. Lucky that El Salvador is now safe enough for senators to go touring. Yep. A credit to Bukele's liberation of the country from the gangs. That's a very, very good point. I still wouldn't go because I'm afraid of the world. But you didn't actually address much of anything. Okay, I think that's probably a fight that does not deal with me. There is no political philosophy or ideology that has any monopoly on idiocy, says Crimson King. Corn Macabre says, does it have to do with the stance on, the Real ID? Oh, yes, it has to do with Real ID. If so, I'm 100% with Ron Paul. I watched his podcast about it last week. We're going to talk about it over at vivabarneslaw.locals.com. So get your heinies all over there. And if you're not going to, please raid Dr. Drew and tell him I said hi. Okay, thank you all for being here. I hope you enjoyed the show. Tonight, 7 o'clock, English version of the debate. I will be having a martini while I watch it. And I will have exercised before having watched it. Let's see, 5:38. I'll be on with Surrett until 5:58. I'm going to jump out the door, go for a run. I'll still be sweating by the time we get that started. So go and enjoy the day. Godspeed, peeps. And locals, here I comes. Boom. All right, let's play the clip from Ron Paul. Real quick, like. No, that's it. No, that was the... Tom Massey. Okay, so the debate right now is the Real ID. I was about to show you my license. My license has the Real ID on it already, I think. I'm fairly certain.
Please don't show that.
Say it again?
Please don't show that.
No, yeah, I'm going to show my license. That's so stupid. I'm fairly certain my license has the Real ID star on it. But either way, the debate is this Real ID law that was passed in 2005 that has never been implemented, that would basically create a, quote, capital real, or maybe it's REAL, like all capitalized ID. But like basically, it's like an internal passport, I guess is the only way to describe it. And Encryptus, you'll tell me if that description is wrong. It's a domestic passport that would be good for internal travel to all states, but like a federal ID. I'll play the whole Ron Paul because I'm going to pause it where I think his analogies are wrong and shouldn't have used them. But this is what Ron Paul had to say about it back in the 80s. And I disagree with Tom Massey on it, because Thomas Massey says this is just another element of federal surveillance. And I'm like, you've been to an airport? They have all of your biometrics already. A uniform federal ID for travel. Some might even say it's the gateway ID to federal voting ID. Damn it, that's a good point. Has anybody said that yet, Encryptus? Like, that's how you get in. Once you have a Real ID for domestic travel, now get a domestic ID for voting. All right, here I'll play what Ron Paul says.
Recognized for 3 minutes.
I thank the gentleman for yielding, and I ask unanimous consent to revise and extend my remarks.
Without objection, so ordered.
Mr. Speaker, I rise in support of the rule. I rise also in support of the Sessions Amendment, but I also would like to take this time to make a few comments about why I will be voting against the bill. With the utmost sincerity and the deep conviction, I am quite confident that this bill, if you vote for it, you will be voting for a national ID card.
Yeah, that's how
what's the problem? I know some will argue against that, and they say this is voluntary, but it really can't be voluntary. If a state opts out, nobody's going to accept their driver's license. So this is not voluntary. Matter of fact, even the House Republican Conference, who sent a statement around and some points about this bill, said the federal government should set standards for the issuance of birth certificates and sources of identification such as driver's licenses. This is nationalization of all identification. It will be the introduction of the notion that we will be carrying our papers. Matter of fact, I think it might even be a little bit worse than just carrying our papers and showing our papers, because in this bill there are no limitations of the information that may be placed on this identification card. There are minimum standards, but no maximum limitations. And the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security can add anything it wants. So if they would like to put on there the fact that you belong to a pro-gun group, it may well appear on your national ID card, because there may be an administration someday that might like to have that information.
Well, we could see, this is where I disagree with him. In a debate, you'd say, okay, fine. So you don't disagree in principle, but you disagree on the modalities. And so if it were to have specified limited information, age, eye color, home address, height, date of birth, what else would you need? If you agree on that, then yeah, go ahead. So I don't agree with it.
These arguments are outdated.
Well,
that's
this is true as well.
The NCIC all of that information is in the NCIC. You just need a person's name and date of birth, and you can get all of the information he's complaining about right now.
Well, true.
And any cop can do that on any.
But there's no limitations as far as biometrics. There's no limitations as far as radio frequency identification. That technology is already available, being used on our passports, which means that you don't have to show your papers. All you have to do is walk by somebody that has a radio frequency ability to read your passport or read your driver's license. And there's no limitation as to what they can put on these documents.
Get to the gun part. Where's the gun part?
This bill also allows the definition of terrorism to be redefined. There is no limitations. And you know, in many ways, I understand how well-intentioned this is, but to me, it's sort of like the gun issue.
Yeah, here.
Conservatives always know that you don't register guns. That is just terrible, because the criminals won't register their guns. But what are we doing with this bill? We're registering all the American people.
Well, for what? This was for the purposes of what? For if they want to do something that requires the real ID, like domestic travel. So it's not, the analogy fails because you're not going to get people illegally domestically traveling. You would get people who don't have it not domestically traveling. And so to that extent, it would say, I mean, it would be like, you're not going to illegally access the internet if they made you use your real ID, if they forced you to identify yourself. People just wouldn't do it. Like there would be no illegal way of circumventing it unless you get fake IDs, in which case that's also a risk, but not analogous to guns, because it's not like they're going to get guns illegally and use them. This is if they don't have the card, they're not going to travel. To me, it feels like a domestic passport. Everyone agrees. Get a passport if you want to leave the country because you need it to get back in. Nobody complains about that. This, okay, well, freedom of what's it called when you travel? Freedom of mobility? What's the word with it? It's mobility. It's a constitutional right, at least, not in Canada, although it's in the charter. But you drive and you don't have to have one, or you fly and you have to have one.
And you want to register the criminals and the thugs and the terrorists. Well, why does a terrorist need a driver's license? They can just steal the car or steal an airplane or steal a bus or whatever they want to do.
So that's it. We could skip that. And Thomas Massey against the real ID. This is why he was right. My argument for why I think they're wrong is probably not the best one. It's because it's already too late. Like a real ID. I mean, they've got my face, they've got my eyes, they've got my retina. They know every single thing about me. What drives me nuts is why I have to give them all this information every time I cross the border in the first place. Where's your visa? You look at your computers. So that's it. It's Massey, who I think I don't agree with him on this, and I don't think it's worth making a stink within the Republican Party or within the Trump administration. I think it's also the first step towards inching towards voter ID. They say, you get a national ID if you want to. Nobody complained about it, or you need one to fly. You should need one to vote as well. All right, let's go over here. Viva's opinion. Who cares? SVA, no. Well, it's not quite that simple. It's the reasons for objecting are now obsolete. Do you see how I flipped that around on you? SVEA 123. Not who cares. It's your reasons are obsolete. Now what are you going to do? Raise obsolete reasons to defeat something that is now basically without consequence. Boopsy says, but there's too many fake IDs in our country. I think we need to prevent that. Hyphen says, Viva, just so someone has said it, I wonder what influence Islam had on this decision. Remember, judges, mayors, and MPs are Muslim in the UK. That's going back to the women's thing in the UK. Yeah, it was like the one time when, say, the religious communities, because it's the same thing with like ultra religious Jews. Like nobody puts up with this shit. That was like the one time we were protesting together was during the education, not indoctrination protests in Canada. But now international politics ruins everything. I'd settle for voter ID and only citizens only voting. Yeah. How are you going to prove it? ID. Going up here, only criminals in Canada have unregistered firearms. Oh, how long has that been there for? Oh, that's annoying. Hyphen. Yeah. No, I had a firearm. I had to register it. My wife. It's crazy. Yeah, it's just a passport says MA. Domestic passport, but only for flying, right? That's what I understood the real ID was going to be used for, or government functions where they would need to just make sure who you are. Real ID, not now. Secure form of identification issued by the states that comply with Real ID Act. It's designed to enhance security as is required for certain purposes, including domestic flights, federal facilities. Yeah, okay. I'm 99. I traveled with my. I kind of love it actually. Not the convenience of having a chip in your hand to get groceries, but like I always get nervous bringing my passport places, especially since the government renewed it and sent it back to me. I'm guarding that thing like my baby. What else do we got here? Okay, let's go into the chat. Only criminals in Canada have unregistered. Okay, look how the Democrats apparently got millions of illegals social security IDs. Roosting. So is the concern then that they'll also get fake real IDs? Because then I don't understand what the solution would be. If you have illegals here, what you want to do is make, lawful citizens get government issued ID and make it harder for illegals to procure them. I think. The Fed government could have compelled all states to force all citizens to have U.S. passport card, but I guess you need the real ID too, says SVEA123. Well, I mean, then if I'm not sure if that's a sassy remark, no, not like that way, but like, well, then just make passports mandatory instead of a real ID. That I can understand that argument. Finboy Slick says the creep of that kind of program is the scary part. Okay, now I'm going to refresh here and say, is J.K. Rowling vindicated? It certainly seems that way. Thumbs up there. Viva, One Place Ministries. What is this? Truth? What is this? Turn from sin, judgment is coming. That's the message of the prophet Amos was sent to tell Israel. Amos's message was anything but subtle. In fact, he even used a bit of sarcasm, reminding people of the famine, droughts, locusts, and warfare that came before. That is Through the Bible with Dr. J. Vernon McGee. I'll put that on the back burner and look at that afterwards. He did terrible at the debate, in my opinion. J-Mangs, who's the he? I mean, they were... The funny thing is, I mean, it doesn't matter. We don't need to talk about it again. Danielson, 68, says, it's bad enough this pig can't speak English. Who is raising money off the kid their child murdered? Okay, now I know who you're talking about. I thought we were back to the debate. He should be hiding his head in shame instead of milking this crime for everything he can. Hello from Tennessee. That was from Danielson, 68. 2024 MAGA says, hello from Tennessee. I escaped Illinois last summer. Good for you, says Sophia Agape. Buy Miller Amos products, says Neurodivergent 1. We got a nice Chinese liberal. Oh, I'm going to... I am stealing this. Carney. Oh, this is great. Carney, let me just go tweet that out right away. Do I have to give credit to anybody for that? The new liberal, what's the word I'm looking for? What's the word is this? It's not a logo. The new campaign. Yeah, campaign promo came out. What do you all think? Watch this get community noted. I saved it under Carney. The new liberal campaign promo.
My jaw just dropped. Take a look at the tip chat that I just...
Do I want to
read it?
Is it going to upset me?
It'll be an interesting comparative.
School shootings by president?
So what I did was, if you just actually can you bring it up and
Yeah,
show the graphic?
Do it right now.
So King of Biltong requested that I do school shoot. No, actually, this is the first one. Go to the second one. I just did it. I dropped another one where he also asked me to check SSRI prescriptions.
Mm-hmm.
So I created a graphic overlay of that, and I'll let you go from there.
School college shootings versus SSRI. I'm going to save this. Did you just see it save? Like when I do this,
and I'll let you go from there.
No, yeah. How do I do this? If I do you see school college shootings versus SSRI? Why do I hear myself now? What the heck is going on? Save this. Did you just see it save? Like when I do this, hold on,
and I'll let you go from there.
Yeah, but hold on a second. I hear myself. Do you see school college shootings versus SSRI? Now I hear myself multiple times.
Whatever button you hit, you loop
what the heck
something.
is going on? Save this. Did you just see it save? Like when I do this, hold on, there. Okay, stop right there. Okay, I don't know what I just did. So now I got to bring it back up. It's this one right here. Okay, so we're looking at it, right?
Yep. So what we're looking at is each president listed, red versus blue, Republican, Democrat, and the yellow line is SSRI prescriptions.
How comfortable are you with this? The data that went into this?
I'm 100% sure on the data. I did a shit ton of research to get to this point. The data is right. Mind blowing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's our. I'm just going to put this out here too. Our locals community member, agent guru, put this. Crunched the numbers, and and stats and to put together this chart illustrating SSRI. What is it? Prescriptions?
Yep.
And shootings or school shootings?
School shootings.
It's quite unreal. That's wild. I mean, it's
insane, isn't it?
No, it's how many. The question is this: looking at the numbers, and it just goes up correlatively with all the presidents, and with forget the presidents. The presidents are irrelevant in this. This is just number of mass shootings or school shootings, and it tracks virtually perfectly with the increase in SSRI prescriptions. What percentage of kids are on SSRIs per million? That's 100. Is that 100 million prescriptions? Prescriptions, millions.
Oh, yeah.
Hold on a second. Let me make sure about this.
This is only U.S. data, by the way. So there's 100 million prescriptions. That means quite literally almost 1 in 3 Americans.
Well, how many SSRI prescriptions? I would imagine maybe people have more than one, because I don't think one in 3. How many prescriptions?
It's actually those are the numbers. The number is almost 1 in 4, and I've seen this data elsewhere. This number is accurate.
Let me see this here. Okay. One of the is nearly 40 million prescriptions in 2022, up from 28 million in 2004. I'm just using Grok here. Holy shit balls.
I don't know about Grok being correct. I actually did scientific paper research as well as a medical journal research to validate this.
Well, the total number of SSRI prescriptions could conservatively range from 100 to 150 million annually in the US. That's absolutely outrageous. What the hell's up with this? That's all right. Encryptus. I think we may have just broken the internet. We'll see what happens. All right. That's wild. All right,
and
now
you have 5 minutes to your next show.
Yeah, I gotta go pee and then pee. Pierre Poilievre. I gotta go Pierre Poilievre in the bathroom. Locals, thank you all for being here. I hope it was a good one. I'll see you tomorrow. Well, I'll see you tonight. I'll see you like in an hour and a quarter. Godspeed. God bless. And I will see you 7 o'clock ish. I will still be sweating. Guaranteed. Peace out, peeps.